webcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the monthly session of the SAP Access walkthrough. Thank you for joining us today. We hope to dedicate this hour to answering any questions that you might have around the SAP system, the access subscriptions that are offered by micromanagement, and potentially any other questions that you might have unrelated to those things. So let's jump right in. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Nicole Land. I have been in the SAP space implementing, supporting, training, migrating data for almost 2 decades now. Feels like it has flown by. I specialize in the production planning and manufacturing. I'm SAP certified in that module, but I also have many years experience in the materials management production module and manufacturing, the distribution module, GTS modules, quality modules, you name it. I've pretty much done something in one of those modules. So I feel like I have a good foundational background to help answer any questions you may have today. We've also got Claire Albom on the call today. She is our training manager at micromanagement. So Claire, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Nicole. Good morning. As Nicole said, my name is Claire Albom, and I work with all of our instructors. So finding new instructors, doing monthly access walkthroughs like we're doing now. So Nicole is one of our lovely instructors. We also do monthly Q&As to chat through different specific modules. So look out for emails from us, or always check our YouTube channel for Instructor Engagement. So thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. We've also got Sarah Blackman on the call. She is one of the best resources that I've had the pleasure of working with here at micromanagement from a technical perspective. So from a question and answer today, I'll be here to help answer any functional questions you may have about what SAP is all about. Sarah is going to be here to help answer any technical questions or access questions. So Sarah, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you so much, Nicole. I like working with you too. I am Sarah Blackman. Like she said, I'm the customer success manager. So I kind of run the show as far as billing and customer support goes, which means I get into a little bit of everything over here at micromanagement, but it also means I know lots and lots about maybe some little specific things about our access, and also definitely how billing and order and support works. So I will be here for info on that.
Excellent. So that's us. That's us on the call today. And again, if you have any questions, hopefully between the 3 of us, we'll be able to get them answered. So the first thing I want to talk about is the options that micromanagement offers in terms of system access to SAP. This screenshot here is some of the most popular systems that we have, and we do want to point out that the S/4HANA 2020 with Fiori is live as well, so that is now available. But it is not just limited to the ones you see here. If you check out the website and click on the SAP Access option, you will see a long laundry list of various systems that you could subscribe to, that you could get access to. There are monthly subscription options as well as annual options. And I think, Sarah, you can probably explain it a lot better than I can, but you're basically going to get a 10-day trial. Sarah, why don't you tell them about that?
Yeah, certainly. So we understand that SAP is expansive, right? So there's a lot of different things you could want to do. And sometimes you may have a super specific question, or you're just not sure if it's going to work for you. So we give you the whole first 10 days of any SAP Access subscription to say, hey, I don't think this works. Let me have a full refund. No questions asked. You can email, you can chat, call. It really doesn't matter how you contact us. Just let us know, hey, it's not working. Obviously, we have a dedicated help desk team too. So that 10 days gives you some time to, maybe you need some authorizations, maybe you need some business roles set up. It gives you time to really get in there and make sure it's going to work right for you, so you don't feel like you're having to upfront for something that isn't going to work, because SAP is a big system, right? So nobody's going to know all the answers about SAP ever, anybody. So we just want to put that guarantee in there so that you have some assurance that it'll work for you, or you'll have your money back.
That's right. Money back. Satisfaction. That's what we're going for here. So that is the access options, the systems, and you can have multiple system subscriptions, right? So if you want an S/4HANA, but you also need an ECC system, you can certainly have multiple subscriptions at the same time.
And I would like to mention, if you don't mind, Nicole,
Sure.
sometimes, and this happens sometimes within the 10 days and sometimes later, like, for example, maybe you signed up for S/4HANA 1809 a couple months ago, and then you go on the website and you say, oh, look, S/4HANA 2020 is available. I'd rather use that. I don't need both. So if you don't need both, you can actually just chat me or send me an email at info@michaelmanagement.com, and I can change your subscription from one package to the other, as long as they cost the same. There's no fee or anything. So that way you're only paying for what you're using, and you can do that as often as you like.
That's fantastic. That's something I should probably add to this presentation going forward. So as improvements added, as enhancement packs are added, or as new systems are added to the list, if you need to switch, that's an important benefit that we should start clarifying from now on. That's awesome. Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome. Yeah, I always hate to see somebody purchase one when they have one subscription going and then tell me afterwards, oh, well, I just wanted to switch over. I could just do it for you.
It's like when you go buy that new pair of shoes and then they go on sale a week later.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about what you can do with your access. And this applies to any system. So regardless of whether you get the S/4HANA 2020 or you get an ECC Enhancement Pack system, it doesn't matter. You will have the access to do configuration if that is what you so choose to do. There are options for ABAP development if you purchase the developer package. But most importantly, you'll be able to use the system in terms of creating master data, transacting that data, searching that data, learning how to use SAP, creating sales demos, perhaps, if that's what you need your access for. All of that system, all of that data is readily available to you, and there's nothing limiting what you can do with that system once you have the subscription.
And Nicole, we have a question coming in from Facebook that I think would be good for us to answer now. The user's asking, do I have to own SAP or work at a company with SAP to buy access to learn it?
That's a great question, and the answer is no. So that's what you're getting with the subscription through Michael Management. So if we go back, let me just go back here, and let's say you wanted access to the S/4HANA. You have nothing. You don't own it. It's a $99 a month subscription. You would get the download. You would get the GUI download on your system, and you would get a user ID and login. Now, we are assuming that you know how to use the system at that point. This doesn't come with training. It is just access, but you don't have to already own it. You don't have to have it already installed on your machine. We will help you get it installed on your machine as part of the system subscription. That's a great question.
Perfect. Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, I think that's very clear and a great question coming in. And actually now we're getting some more love from Facebook. So I think this is a great question for you, Nicole. I know we go over this in our live classes. So another user from Facebook is saying that they use SAP daily now, and they are currently going from ECC to the new S/4HANA. So they want to know, are they really different?
That is a great question. And the short answer is no. Functionally, there's not much difference. There is improvements with like any software update, so if you have an iPhone or an Android, every time those software updates come out, there are improvements to that software. But overall, functionally, they are virtually the same. So I don't think you're going to have to relearn a whole new system. Some transactions are more streamlined. Some transactions or reports are better. The real difference there is that underlying database structure, the HANA. So S4 is the SAP system, and HANA is the database system. And the differences there, the real differences, are at that database level. So if you're a functional user, I don't think you should be worried about too much differences being introduced with the S4HANA system. That's not to say, again, that there's not improvements. There certainly are. But I think you shouldn't be scared to jump right into an S4HANA system if you have experience with an ECC system. Great question. Any others from Facebook, Claire?
No, not yet. I will let you know if there are, but yeah, as of now, no more. Thank you.
No worries. So let's keep going. Again, what you can do, you'll have full access. Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, but the developer package is a slightly different subscription than a normal user. So if you want ABAP development, that is a slightly different subscription. Is that right?
Yeah, there is a higher fee just because SAP charges us directly higher for the ABAP licensing. So there is different pricing on that. So you don't want to sign up for it if you don't know what ABAP is or you're not sure if you need it, you probably don't. That's a good general rule. And
Right.
Nicole knows more about that than I do, so that's why she's nodding her head. And I can always add ABAP later if you decide later that you want it. I can upgrade you. So if you're really not sure, that's an option too. But yes, it is a different subscription and a different price.
Right. Okay. All right. So let's talk about a private system. Again, we are assuming you know how to use the system at this point. So many of you might have questions like, well, I want access because I want to learn how to use the system. We're going to talk about how you go about that in just a few moments. But at this point, if you're subscribing to an SAP system, we're making some assumptions that you've got some experience and you know exactly what you're trying to do. And a lot of the cases, you may be a consultant like myself, and you need a private system to set up some demos for a client or something of that nature. Micromanagement has private systems that you can access as well. So with that private subscription, you're not worried about anyone else altering any of the config, altering any of the underlying data. So much of your demo, you might be staging data, and making sure no one messes with that data is pretty important. You don't want to go to all the trouble to stage a demo and then get your client online and go to find out someone's messed with your data. So the private systems are an option if that's something that you need. It's there for you and you alone. That's a big benefit. Let's talk about when you do get in. Sometimes people get access to the system and they log in and they just kind of freeze. They just stare at the screen and they just don't know where to go. Again, if you are buying a subscription to SAP, we are making some assumptions that you have some experience, either as a user or maybe a functional analyst, a functional consultant. But if you don't and you still want to get in because you're like me and you learn by just doing, here's some tips and tricks to get you started. So the first thing I do with every new system that I log into is change my desktop configuration display. And this is basically like changing your shirt, right? Depending on the mood I'm in, or if I need to take some screenshots and I need to make those screenshots look like older screenshots of an older ECC system or something, I can change how SAP looks and is displayed to me by changing that GUI configuration. And that's done through your Windows, again, assuming you're on a Windows. It's still available on a MacBook, but slightly different. But navigating to your SAP front end folder, and then choosing the GUI configuration option. And from there, again, depending on the version and the system that you're in, you will get a pop-up that looks very similar to what I've got showing here. And you can choose the theme. I think the latest theme that is defaulted is the Belize theme, but you can change it back to that SAP signature theme for old schoolers like me. I like SAP to look a certain way just because I've been doing it for so long. And change is hard even for me, but you can choose how to display your SAP any way you like, and you can change that at any point in time. Okay, so that's just a quick tip and trick. Let's talk about actually logging in. When you get your system subscription, you will get an email confirmation from Micromanagement, and it will include the system details. From there, we will help you if you need it. We can help you install the GUI on your machine, and then you'll be able to log in. And you'll do that by double-clicking on your logon pad to the system to which you subscribed. Okay. And from there, you'll need basically 3 pieces of information. Again, this will be included in the email that you get from Micromanagement. That is the client. So think of the client like a room in your house, your living room, your bedroom, your bathroom. They're all within the one house, and they all may have certain things in common. But at the end of the day, each room has slightly different furniture or slightly different flooring, right? There's certain things that are just a little bit different. Think of a client like that. So you will have access to a particular client. You'll need to put that in, your user ID and password. Your password will probably be, a garbled mess of letters and numbers. You'll probably want to change that as soon as you log in the first time, and change it to something that you can remember. But if you ever need a password reset, that's fine too. We can help you with that. Just reach out via chat or email.
Yeah, and I just want to mention, you're right. You will get like a random generated password. It takes about 10-15 minutes for you to get that server email. So if you don't see it right away, don't worry. It's just generating your password, basically, and it will hit spam sometimes because it has lots of links in there. And that's how spam filters work, right? So when you get going, there's a free install, like video install guide to help you walk through it in a PDF. We also have a Web GUI if you don't want to deal with installing things, or if you just can't install anything on your work computer, that'll come in that setup email. And then, yes, you'll have a random password, you'll log in with it, and you'll immediately be asked to create your own password so that you can remember it. I know I have one I like to use, right? And then basically, if you ever need a password reset, yes, I can help you with it. And there's also a self-admin feature in our Access where you can reset your own password too, so that you're not waiting for me, or maybe you've locked it on the weekend, so I'm not checking email every 5 seconds like I normally do. So I usually, if anybody ever requests a password reset from me, I'll send them that link, but it is on our FAQ page as well.
Yeah, that's cool. I, in fact, would love to know that as well. That's new information even for me. So that's very helpful. Thank you.
I will get you that link today, Nicole.
Constantly forget my password. All right. Any questions from Facebook, Claire?
Yes, you read my mind, Nicole. So I think, Sarah, I know you get this question a lot on chat. So if you want to help this user from Facebook out, they seem like they're a little stressed with the system. They said, what do I do when I get stuck? How can I get help or ask questions? Help, I don't know what I'm doing. So I know both of you will probably have some insight on this, both from just outside of MMC and MMC, but if you want to help this user out.
Yeah, well, one thing,
Sarah, I'll let you go first.
Sorry. One thing I always recommend is that if you don't know much about SAP, or if you haven't used it yet, don't get Access first. You may be too late in the process. I'm not sure, if the person we're talking to on Facebook is set up or not, but that's another reason why we had the 10-day money back guarantee, right? Because for me, I'm a software nerd, and I always have been, since I was a kid. So I assumed incorrectly, even though I was told otherwise, that I could just log into SAP and I would kind of figure it out. That will never happen. I don't know anyone who would be able to do that. It's just not one of those type systems. It's a software system that has been built upon for decades and decades and decades. It's very expansive. It was originally designed in German, so not everything translates well. Sometimes conventions of how things are done in the system changed at some point over the last 30 years. So you would expect something to do something a certain way, and it doesn't necessarily. It's not the easiest software in the world to learn, right? That's why we have over 300 training courses. So if that's the situation you're in, I always recommend to look at our simulation courses first, because not only are they teaching you, but you have like almost a miniature version of Access built into the course, so that you can still get practice and see and experience the system. And say that you purchased Access, and within the first 10 days, you're like, oh, this is over my head. Yes, I can refund it. I can also just give you that money that you paid back as a credit to go towards a course if you want. I can be flexible for you. Now, if you know a little bit more about Access and you're having trouble, that's different, right? So I do have some great free resources. I have a dedicated help desk team if you're running into like true errors, and you get that info when you sign up with all your other login info in that big long email full of links that get stuck in spam. That's another reason why, right? But also we have a free error code lookup tool on our website that for me personally is immensely helpful. And that goes a long way for sure. We also have a lot of other great info in the infographics section on our website. You can get tables, you can get SAP sheet cheat sheets, we call them. We have a great one for Fiori that I know is very popular. So no, you don't get any training or maybe direct support with SAP Access, just like Nicole said earlier. We have lots of training and we have lots of free resources. And if you purchase Access and you decide you need training instead, I can be flexible with you. So I think that's kind of what really makes our company so great, is that you can really build a package for your specific needs.
Yeah, what she said. So again, and what kind of issues you're having, if you're having technical issues or you just don't know how to use SAP, again, if you're getting a subscription system access, we're kind of making an assumption that you have some level of experience. So if you do not, and you're trying to learn how to use SAP, I would not start, as Sarah mentioned, with a system subscription. I would start with some other resources that we offer, which we will be covering here shortly. Some are free resources, some are not so free resources. But there are better ways to jumpstart your SAP learning than just diving right into system access. Okay, so we'll be getting to that here shortly. And then if we didn't answer your question, feel free to clarify as we go along, okay? All right, so let's talk about setting favorites. If you're like me, you're getting older and your memory is getting worse. So as I find transactions that are not burned into my memory after 20 years of doing this, I still come across things that are new. I add those to my favorites because I will never remember that transaction code, and I will certainly never remember where they are in that navigation menu, the SAP menu. So I like to put things into my favorites just so I can have quick access whenever I might need them. And you can do that several ways. You can right-click on the favorites folder and say insert transaction. If you do that, you have to know the transaction code that you're adding. So you'll type in the transaction code, hit enter, and it's there. You can also drag and drop. So if you are exploring that SAP menu and you come across a transaction that you think you want in your favorites, just drag it up to your favorites and just drop it in there. So it's very, the SAP system is very drag and drop friendly, like a normal Windows application would be, okay? User settings. This is also something that I do the first time I log into any new system. This is where you would set your decimal notation, your date format, your time format, and this is especially critical for users that are perhaps not in the United States, of which we have many. So, the European date format, the European decimal notations, all of those should be set, and that is a user by user, system by system thing. So if you do happen to have access to multiple systems, this is an exercise you would need to do in each system. It's not going to translate over, okay? Then I would encourage you, again, assuming you have some experience with SAP, I would encourage you to start exploring the SAP menu. So you've probably all heard the term function modules, right? The common function modules of SAP, from materials management to sales and distribution, quality management, production planning. That is what this menu is intended to serve, right? So as soon as you click into that logistics folder, which is where you're going to find the bulk of the common function modules, everything but basically finance will be in this logistics folder. And I'm going to circle that here on the screen with my mouse. In that logistics folder, you will see all the function modules that are available. Some are very common. Those are the ones I have circled here. Some are not so common. And depending on your industry, depending on your company, it will depend on which modules you are actually deploying or implementing or using on a day-to-day. So if you want to learn more about one, just dive into that folder. So for example, materials management. If you expand that folder, you're going to find things around purchasing and procurement. You're going to find the material master object. You're going to find inventory management and inventory queries. Anything that would relate to managing materials is in that module. Okay, so I would definitely encourage you to explore the SAP menu. And again, if you find a transaction that you think is going to be useful or helpful, drag it up to your favorites so you don't have to remember where it was. When you do get in the system, the first thing I would encourage you to do is find a material, right? You're in the system for a reason. You either want to test out something, you want to stage some data for a demo, right? You're in the system for a reason. And unless you're maybe a finance user, you're going to need a material to do something in the system. So MM60 is the best way to do that. It's a standard SAP query that allows you to query that database for any and all materials that have already been set up. It is a shared system, so keep in mind, unless you've purchased the private subscription, at which point you may need to create your own data. But if you're in one of the shared systems, rest assured there is a ton of data out there. We can't always guarantee whether it's going to serve your purposes or not, but that's why I encourage you to start looking, like through transactions like MM60. You can query by plant, you can query by material type, or you can just leave that wide open and look at every single material in the system. And that'll get you started. From there, sales orders, right? So we're going to kind of touch on the three biggest modules. If you need to find some sales orders in the system, VA05 is your best bet. That is the query that will query the database. And from there, you could find materials. From there, you could find customers, right? Just by looking at a sales order, all of that master data that comes together on a sales order, you're going to find that through VA05. So for example, if you want to know what shipping points are configured in the system that are ready to use, you can use that by digging into an existing sales order that you get through VA05. GL accounts. So if you're a finance user and you want to get started in that arena, FBL3N, that transaction will allow you to query the database. Again, you can query by company code, or you can leave that wide open and just see everything that's out there. And hopefully one of those comes back as useful for you. If not, it will at least help you in creating your own, right? Which we'll be talking about here shortly. How do you go about creating your own data in the system? Error messages. And to that Facebook user that posed the question about help, I'm stuck. If you're stuck because of error messages, I just want to say, don't worry, right? Getting error messages in SAP is just part of the process, right? It's part of the rite of passage, trying to understand what those messages say, what to do about them, how to fix them, and get past them. So I would recommend that you use the free online micromanagement lookup tool. There is we'll show you the link to that here in just a little bit. I think Sarah mentioned it earlier as well. Every error message in SAP is on the micromanagement website with resources and help of how to get past it. What does it mean? What do you do about it? And if that isn't helpful, for some reason, the micromanagement lookup tool isn't helpful, Google it. Okay, I've been doing this for 20 years and I still Google things. There's no shame in that. There are tons of SAP forums out there. You are not the first person to get the error message. I guarantee you that if the micromanagement website is not helpful, that Google or Yahoo, whatever your browser is, you're going to get to an SAP forum that is going to help you figure out what that error message is trying to tell you and how to resolve it and get past it and move on. Okay, so just don't freak out. Don't throw your hands up and say this is too complicated. The best SAP users are the ones that take these error messages and root them out, figure out what's going on, and move on. Because that's what makes you that's what takes you from a regular user to a super user. Okay, I'll pause here for any questions that may have come through.
Excuse me. It looks like on our end, we do not have any new ones coming through. I see that we have one person, Uka is raising her hand. You know what, I'm gonna go ahead, maybe I'll unmute her.
Okay.
Let's see, so Uka, it looks like you are self-muted.
Hey, hi, Nicole.
Hi.
Yeah, sorry, kind of joined late, missed much of the beginning part. Can you just recap quickly? I mean, if it's not too much.
Well, we're broadcasting live, and we'll have some recordings. And this deck that we are giving out, we will also send out to all of those enrolled today. So you'll have an opportunity to see everything that we have discussed. Unless you have a very specific question.
I was a specific question. Sorry, yeah. I had a specific question about SAP Ariba and its access, actually.
Okay.
So do you have any insight on it?
Yeah, Sarah, do you want to take that question?
Sorry, I should probably unmute myself if I want to answer, huh? So we do offer several SAP Access plans, but we do not have SAP Ariba, and we're not planning on bringing it on at this time.
And when we get to the point of this demo, I will take you over to the micromanagement website so you can see how to get to the list of all systems that are currently available.
So I'm kind of working on the demo preparation for a couple of courses for Ariba. Then what should I do? I mean, can I use my own system, or how do you suggest?
Yeah, so okay, that's something you and I can chat about after as well. I know in creating your courses, we can chat through that. So I will send you an email after the live stream so we can chat more about instructor related questions. And then just to add on to what Nicole said in the beginning, anyone watching, if you want to rewatch this, if you want to listen to Nicole and Sarah answer those specific questions we had, if you go on to the Micromanagement YouTube, on our channel, you'll see all of our SAP Accesses that we've live streamed. You'll see Q&As that we've done. So it's all there to rewatch. So it will be there for you in case you want to rewatch the beginning of this or maybe a previous month.
Okay, great. Sounds good to me. Yeah.
We do these every month. So, you know, if today you had a question, we didn't answer it, every month we do one of these Q&As, and those are out there on that YouTube site. So yeah. Any other questions?
No,
I
I'm
don't
good.
have any coming in from Facebook either.
Well, just in case, again, I always like to try to get people jump started. So if you do have access to one of the systems and you're really just trying to figure out where do you go from here, I've put together some exercises that I think might be helpful. And they are 3 levels of difficulty, basically. And these are, we've got a materials management exercise, sales and distribution, and finance. And again, 3 levels of difficulty. So again, starting with just find a material or materials using MM60. That's a very easy query, a very easy way to get introduced to how SAP, you know, the navigation of SAP, the clicking here and there. From there, if you want to continue your journey, you can look at that material master. You can display it through MM03, and you can, you know, view every single piece of data that is maintained on that, including the org structure, right? So if part of your journey is to figure out what plants are configured, what sales orgs are configured, and that sort of thing, if warehouse management is set up, you can look through the material masters that already exist to find that information using MM03. And then from there, I encourage you to try to create your own, right? You can do that by copying the one that you found. That's going to make the creation of a material much easier, much quicker. But you can also just have 2 screens side by side, and you can create your new material like on your own without copying as an even more advanced version, just to see if you can get comfortable doing that exercise. So MM01 would be how you do that. And you can, again, it's up to you if you choose to create by copying or create from scratch and having that reference material just up on another screen. Okay, so that's some materials management exercises that can get you going. Sales and distribution, again, we're going to VA05, I mentioned earlier, find some existing orders. From there, look at the order. Use VA03. You can display that sales order. Again, from there, you can look at customer master. You can look at the material that's on that order. You can look at schedule line details and pricing. There's a wealth of information that you can view and learn about just by displaying a sales order. And then again, if you wanted to get creative and even more advanced, try to create your own sales order. Again, you can copy or just create from scratch using that existing order as a guide, right? That'll help get you through the clicking, right? You need to put in a customer, you need to put in a PO, you need to put in your material and your quantity. It'll get you experience with actually creating a sales order. And finance. So again, that FB3LN that I mentioned before, you can look and find existing GL accounts that are out there. You can display one that you have found through FSP0. And you can also use FSP0. It's one of the few transactions that is create and display and maintain all in one. So you can also use it to create your own in order, by copying the existing one. So you'll see a theme here: find, display, and then create by copying. And that should get you some exposure, some experience, at least from a navigation perspective. Okay. All right, so let's talk now about some resources that you do have at your disposal. These are not all of them, but these are some of the free resources that I would encourage you to check out. And again, this entire PowerPoint, this deck that we're looking at, will be distributed to each of you. The first link that I have here is, I think Sarah mentioned it earlier, the cheat sheets and infographics. They're really, really helpful, and they're all free. So I've included the link here to that, and they are, module specific as well. So you should be able to zero in on exactly something that would be helpful to you based on the functional module that you are interested in. Then the blog about getting started. I think Sarah mentioned that as well. Reading that, how to get started with your SAP Access subscription. Installing that desktop GUI. There are videos out there, free videos out there about how to do that as well. And then, like we've mentioned several times, I think the error message tool. So if you do get an error message, don't freak out. Use this free online tool and see if you can figure out what's going on. And more importantly, see if you can resolve the error message and get past it. That's going to be the most empowering thing you can do, is resolve an error message that has stumped you for a while. I know that from personal experience. Some additional resources, some not so free resources. The simulation courses. Sarah, you described these in the best way, so I'm going to let you jump in and talk about the simulation courses and why. Again, if you don't have SAP experience and you're really trying to learn, I think we would all recommend, instead of subscription access, you start with these simulation courses. Sarah, why don't you tell them why this would be a better option?
Yeah, and I know I touched on this earlier. I'm a little bit of an over talker, huh? But these courses are really great for a beginner, especially, and we have 4 that we call the Fab 4 that we have just kind of planned out as how we would like everyone to start. So I can always get you guys a link to that or tell you more about it, or you can chat me for it. It's really easy to get to you. But basically the way these work is that they teach you not just by a lecture or a lesson, which there is voice and speech, but it also shows you. And then you have live practice as well as quizzes and an exam that is on a miniature version of SAP Access. So whatever particular thing you're learning, it's built into the course. So you start with the very, very, very basics, and then you could do some basic reporting, and it moves up from there. So that's the best way to start learning, because you're getting some access, but you're not having to pay for access. And you get to use these courses for a whole year once you purchase them. So you can practice it as often as you like, whatever time you like, wherever you like, as many times as you like. I love that because when I'm sometimes doing a simulation course and then later I'm working in Access, I cannot remember exactly what I want to do, but I don't need to take the whole course over again. I'm like, oh, look at the table of contents. Okay, they touched on this transaction in lesson 7. So I just retake lesson 7 really quick and I practice it right there. So it's definitely an invaluable resource, and you can't mess anything up clicking around because it's a simulation course. It's not really Access. So it's a foolproof way to learn. And it's definitely a lot less confusing than just trying to jump in, because again, I taught myself like Photoshop and Adobe InDesign and all that software. Never in a million years could I teach myself anything in SAP. It's not going to happen, period. It's just not.
And it's a guided course, right? So the data is staged, and like you said, you get some limited system access, but you're not like in a real system, so you're not going to mess anybody else up. And there's really no way to go wrong in the simulation course.
Yeah, I think you can almost think of SAP as like a giant maze, and we just took one little tiny corridor and put it right there for you to study. That way you don't get trapped.
Lost. Okay, yeah, so that's the simulation courses. Again, the link is there, and we're going to jump over to the micromanagement website soon so you can see where, how to navigate and find all of these resources as well. But let's talk about the live Jumpstart courses as well. Those are something we started offering this year, and in fact, I teach several of them. And it's literally live. So we're not live face-to-face, we're live virtually, but we have a small class size. We have it's almost like a live simulation course. We have exercises, hands-on exercises that you will do in a system with me there to help you. So we have an SAP General Fundamentals Jumpstart course that kind of just introduces you to SAP and gets your hands in the system. Across many of the common modules. We also offer a materials management jumpstart. So it will focus specifically on the materials management module, the sales and distribution module. Claire, what other ones are there?
The final one we have is ABAP.
ABAP, that's right. There's an ABAP jumpstart class. So they are one-day courses, but again, you will get access for the day, and you will have predetermined exercises, data that's already been staged for you, and most importantly, you'll have an experienced instructor there to help you along the way. Okay, answer questions, help you troubleshoot, figure out the errors that you're getting. I've taught several of these over the year, and everyone just it gets better and better. So I encourage you to check those out as well. And then the one-on-one access. If you are ready to get a Access subscription, then if you need help in any way, installing the GUI, whatever it is, the one-on-one SAP Access session, is it $45 one-time fee, Sarah? Is that what it is?
It's a one-time $49 fee.
$49, yes. And it's usually with Sarah. It's usually with you, right?
Yep, I usually will just set up a time ASAP that is convenient for you, and you can hop on the live chat and I can do remote access and just do it for you so that you can literally just get up and go make a coffee or whatever you want to do for a couple minutes. And then when you come back, it's typically done already.
This is the installation of the downloading the GUI or whatever, getting it all set up on your computer. This is not necessarily giving you training or helping you figure out an error. Those are other resources that we offer. This is the installing the GUI. Is that correct?
Installing the GUI and then setting up the connection, logging in, and just making sure your initial password works and just making sure you're all ready to go. It's kind of like maybe you're just not really familiar with installing software, or you don't really know server ports very well. We do have free resources, but some people just want some help, so I'm here for that.
And $49, that's I think a small price to pay to just walk away and get a coffee and then have SAP ready to go.
Yeah, and you can watch me do it too if you want. Like maybe you want to buy more systems later, so you want to see me do it, so you know how. That's fine as well. But I'm very flexible for people on it. You don't have to talk to me at all if you don't want to. I'll just set it up.
And again, there are free videos out there as well of how to download. So that is the end of our Q&A presentation. I will pause in case there are questions coming in while I pull up the micromanagement website. Management.com. Claire, were there any more questions coming in?
You know what? Not that I see. If any roll in, I will let you know. But for now, I think, and you both did a wonderful job. Even I feel like I learned some new things today. So
I did too. Yeah.
Thank you. And maybe one thing we can chat through, I'm sure that a lot of our users watching now or maybe in the future will be curious about our new system, our 2020. So maybe after you go through the website, Nicole, you can pull up that SAP Access page, and Sarah, you can kind of walk us through that new system we have.
Sure. So I'm displaying the homepage of the Michael Management site now. And if you look here, your navigation buttons, it's pretty simple. All the SAP training that is offered through Michael Management, from the thousands of on-demand courses that are out there, learning paths, which help guide you through what based on what you're trying to learn, the live Jumpstart classes that we mentioned earlier, and then some quizzes just to test your knowledge. All of that will be under the SAP courses. Under the SAP Access, if you click on that option, you will see all of the systems that are currently offered, with the most popular being here at the top. But if you scroll down that page, you will see all the options available. And if you have any questions about that, you can click here on the live chat feature, or you can use that info@michaelmanagement.com, or I'm sure there are phone numbers you can find in the contact as well.
And then the resources page has FAQ, and FAQ has a whole section just for SAP Access.
So many of those free resources we talked about earlier are here on this resources page as well.
But yeah, I did want to. Sorry, Nicole. I did want to just mention a little bit about the S/4HANA 2020. It's brand new, just only a couple weeks old. If you'll scroll down a little bit, Nicole, they can probably see it.
Yes.
So it does include Fiori and better business practices data, just like our previous versions of S/4HANA, but we have changed the type of hardware we use to host our server. Essentially, it is remarkably faster than any other system we have. So if you're using maybe 1809, 1909, 1709 at work, I would say get the 2020 anyway, because it's just a newer release of the same product. They're very similar. Eventually, your job is going to have to migrate to something newer anyway. And it's just so much faster and better. You're going to be a much happier customer with that package if it fits your needs. Otherwise, I always recommend to get that.
I'm already excited about it, so I think I'm going to have to add that one.
You're gonna get off the call and set yours up, huh?
We do have a question coming in now. A user from Facebook is asking, how long do they have to keep an SAP Access system? Is there a contract, and how many months?
Sarah, go ahead. I'm going to throw that one to you.
Yeah, so there is no minimum requirement. It does automatically renew and automatically rebill every month. The purpose of that, or year if you purchase it yearly, the purpose of that is just to make sure we don't interrupt you in the middle of your work. If you know that you're not going to need it next month, or you're finishing up, you're wrapping up, you can go into your account settings and cancel. You can go into the same tool where you can reset your password and cancel that way. You can email me to cancel. You can chat me to cancel. Just please do it at least one full business day before it bills. Otherwise, I might not have a chance, and we have to do you a refund. Where I would prefer to have some time to stop your billing. But at any point, you can cancel, and then of course, if it's within the first 10 days, you're eligible for a full refund and immediate cancellation. But otherwise, when you cancel, we just end you when your billing's stopped, basically, and we don't bill you again. So you don't have to worry about, oh, I canceled, but I paid for a month and only 2 weeks in. Well, no, you're going to get the rest of your month. You'll stop when your billing stops.
So no, there are no contracts. You can cancel at any time. Are there any discounts if you buy an annual subscription, Sarah?
Yes, if you'll notice, built into the yearly, and you can kind of toggle that on your screen if you want, Nicole, it's giving you 25% off on most of our systems if you decide to get the full year. And then that's when I want to remind you guys again, what we touched on kind of earlier today. Say, for example, you bought a yearly of S/4HANA 2020 this week, and then, I mean, this isn't realistically going to happen in this time frame, but say in 6 months, a newer release came out and you want to switch up to that, just email me and I'll switch you up and it's not an extra charge or anything. I'll just do it, and we'll just, have your date set up the same way. Nothing will change except for just my coding on the back end, and you get the better system or the newer system, however you want to say it.
Right. Complete flexibility, right? We're here to help you. We're here to make you happy. So that's the point. That's it. Any other questions?
I like to say yes if I can say yes. I promise you that.
Yeah.
And no other questions at this moment.
Okay. Well, we have about 10 minutes. So that's all I had today. So I will give it going once, going twice, 3 times. So we will call it a day. And again, if you did join late, that's okay. It's being recorded and it will be available very soon on the Micromanagement YouTube channel. And the deck that we went through today will also be distributed so you can have access to those exercises, those hands-on exercises that we were recommending as well. Okay. So again, thank you all. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Sarah.